MAGA supporters at a San Diego Patriots march clash with Antifa and cover each other in pepper spray. A Patriot march was scheduled at Pacific Beach by Donald Trump supporters. An hour before it began, anti-fascists gathered to counter the march. There were several clashes between the groups, both physical and verbal. Demonstrators used pepper spray against each other and threw objects at cops. The march came 3 days after the violence at the Capitol, although it was scheduled for Saturday before Wednesday's events in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump supporters and Antifa demonstrators clashed in San Diego on Saturday afternoon, with both sides being pepper sprayed and cops being pelted with rocks, bottles, and more. The MAGA backers had scheduled a Patriot March to start at 2 p.m. near Crystal Pier, which is right in Pacific Beach, but were met by counter-protesters, some adorned in Antifa t-shirts. One protester held a sign saying "No Nazis in PB." Another held a sign saying "Ashli Babbitt Deserved It," a reference to a rioter who was killed Wednesday at the Capitol. As the afternoon dragged on, shouting matches between the opposing groups began to take place. The Los Angeles Times reports a man had his phone slapped away and was shoved, causing him and a small boy to fall down. It's not clear what side any of those involved were on. After that, a man walked toward the anti-fascists and shoved a demonstrator riding with police chalk. Police form a line to separate the two groups of demonstrators in San Diego. Some counter-protesters demonstrated with Black Lives Matter flags and emblems. The anti-fascists confronted the shover, but the instigator was pulled behind the police line by cops. Incidents of pepper spray being deployed by protesters and further shouting matches and taunts resulted in an unlawful assembly being declared at 2:30 p.m. Those who remain or return against this lawful order may be cited/arrested and risk exposure to chemical agents and less lethal force applications, the San Diego Police Department stated on Twitter. At 4:30 p.m., however, the Trump supporters were again allowed to get back together and started marching, with continued clashes with counter-protesters and passerbys. By 6 p.m., the march was over and the crowds dispersed. Over the course of the day, however, there were incidents of police officers being struck by flying glass bottles, rocks, and even eggs, though it was not clear who was responsible for the projectiles. At some point, police also fired pepper ball rounds into the anti-fascist faction of demonstrators. The dueling protests came 3 days after MAGA supporters broke into the Capitol and terrorized Congress, resulting in at least 5 deaths and a growing number of arrests. The Patriot March was reportedly scheduled before Wednesday's historic events. While the protests were taking place, some pedestrians continued to go about their business, unbothered by what was unfolding around them.